The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
All right, welcome to. Well, I'm sorry, all. It's Monday, the 14th of April, 2025. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. I'm Jamel Hartman, and Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in the news break brought to you by People's. How's everyone feeling today? I'm going to be very transparent. Someone's been in our studio, messed up our intro, outro. Whatever's happened over the weekend since we were last here, it's not there. So that's the transparency for this morning. When things don't go as planned, it's really, really tough once you get on. But happy to be here after, I would say a break off, but it wasn't a break for sure. We definitely were exhausted from working so much out in Vegas. But how's everyone else doing? Did you miss us? Did you get to enjoy your break as well? What were you up to? Someone had a birthday while we were out. So you see a little gray hair, something. I'm just saying, I didn't call any names, but somebody had, I think, it's Pisces season or Pisces season, I think, something like that. So we want to sing happy birthday today. Bit later in the show, folks. Suzanne Ingham says, awesome Monday, Jamel and Maya. I missed you last week. I'm so glad you are back. You saw us last week, Suzanne, didn't you? You were rocking with us, right? I hope you were with us last week. We definitely, we definitely were here last week. So hopefully you were, you didn't miss us too much, and we're happy to be back with you today. All right. Greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome Debi Ray-Rivers on from Scars. It is Child Abuse Prevention Month, so we'll be carrying on the conversation regarding that. Folks, I was instructed, I'm going to say I was instructed to share that the last day to purchase tickets for the gala will be this Friday, which is Good Friday, I believe. So it's Good Friday this Friday. So that will be the last day to conduct for us to do the to allow people to purchase tickets. So if you don't have your tickets already, please reach out. You don't want to miss out on a great night happening on April 26th at LF Wade International Airport. The Daily Play today is going to be a bit Bermuda trivia. All right. So I think most people know the answer to this, but for those who don't, it's an opportunity to learn something that you should know. And don't forget to subscribe on our website, follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right. It's your daily discussion. Daily discussion this morning is, how do you believe the government of Bermuda? How do you believe, we keep talking about government spending and cuts, but how do you believe the government of Bermuda can go about, cutting costs without or reducing spending? How can the government go about reducing spending without cutting the civil service jobs? How's that? It's your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure Trucking.
The daily discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Visit TitanEXBDA.com, your leading tour and transport provider specializing in Black History tours throughout the island. And SecureBDA.com for all your property management, waste management, residential, and commercial trucking needs. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is our commitment to you.
All right. Thanks again to Titan and Secure. Folks, very simple question. How do you believe the government of Bermuda can reduce spending without cutting jobs? How do you believe the government of Bermuda can reduce spending without cutting jobs? And this comes up pretty often as far as people believing that privatization is a bad thing and it'll just make costs go up. But do you agree with privatization? Do you believe that government should privatize. But how do you believe the government of Bermuda can reduce spending without cutting jobs? How and yes or no, do you agree with privatization? Do you agree with government, some government areas becoming private that may be able to save money? Now, I know one of the big things, contentious issues previously, was the airport. The government no longer has to spend on the airport, but all the revenue from the airport actually goes to the company that owns Skyport or oversees Skyport. So I know that was contentious previously. But what are your thoughts, folks? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that privatization is a good thing? Do you believe it's something that Bermuda and Bermudians should be considering? Let us know. Let us know what your thoughts on that. I'm very interested to see how people feel about privatization in Bermuda as it relates to reducing government costs. At the end of the day, I think everyone knows it's not a secret that we have a bloated public service, as they say now, not civil service, a bloated public service. And people think the way to reduce spending is just to cut jobs, right? But is it a way we can reduce spending without cutting jobs? Is there other ways or opportunities? Now, we can look at some of the government quangos. Can they be self-funded completely without government? Now, Bermudians, you already feel like you're overtaxed. There are people who've said that, oh, maybe we just create this tax and that now government no longer has to fund it. What are your thoughts, though? How do you believe the government of Bermuda can reduce spending without cutting jobs? And also, do you agree with privatization? Do you agree with privatization? Yes or no? Do you agree with privatization of some government departments? What are your thoughts on that? Personally, I know privatization scares people. I know transportation was looked at for years as far as privatization. And people feared that, well, if private companies ran, a public transportation system, then the cost would go up. And the first thought was, well, that might be true because no one is truly going to be running a business to lose. And we don't know what the payment will be required to pay government to actually win a bid, or if there's anything. But at the end of the day, if you or anybody else is operating, you're going to need to cover your costs. It's going to be overhead. Probably going to need to find the best drivers, people you can count on as far as transportation. That's going to come with a cost. So I don't think businesses exist just to break even or for charitable causes, just to offer a service, but they also exist so that they can generate a profit. So privatization, I don't see it as a bad thing if you take that cost away from government and put it elsewhere. What else, though, outside of transportation? Another one that has been discussed is mail, right? Post office. People have said, privatize that. It technically is already. Does anyone truly still use traditional mail? Maybe some people do. The only thing I get in the mail now is junk and stuff from the IRS. IRS and government. That's all I get. They can definitely use one of the private companies, but is it something that we should consider doing away with? I don't want to quote Donald Trump or act like anything he's doing is great. But I think there are jobs in the postal service. What's the organization? Dodge, whatever it's called. But they're doing some work in order to find ways to reduce stuff, right? But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, audience? What can the government of Bermuda do to reduce spending without cutting government jobs? How do you believe the government of Bermuda can reduce spending without cutting jobs? And do you agree with privatization? Richard Scott says privatization of certain services, garbage collection. Okay, garbage collection. And we have secure trucking. They could do that. But in truth, that's one that's been discussed as well, that can reduce government spend. It definitely is. And I think so. In the US, I know one of the discussions I've seen for years throughout the internet and social media is that the prison systems are privatized, so for-profit prisons. And you've had people say, well, that's just another way of, enslavement and so on. And, finding ways to convict and keep the prisons full due to contracts. I don't know how real that is, but we definitely need to be careful as to what we privatize and how we go about it. What else, audience? What else? How do you believe the government of Bermuda can reduce spending without cutting jobs? How do you believe the government of Bermuda can reduce spending without cutting jobs? And do you agree with privatization? WKD Lama says, I do not support privatization. I don't know of a country where it works. Look at England with Royal Mail, National Rail, and the water companies. They are all poorly managed and cost more now. Well, that's a consequence of privatization. I believe things will cost more. I think our hope is that if we're going to pay more for a service, then we expect better service, right? I think that's what it comes down to. We know that if something does go private, the cost is likely going to be increased. But also, as the costs increase, we expect better product or service. I remember, kind of off topic, but one of my favorite restaurants in Rhode Island back in the day, I remember I went back some years later, got the same order of chicken wings, and the chicken wings were real small. And someone said, well, maybe they're not processed anymore, but they cost more, So I think that's what we're looking at. When the price rises, we want to feel like we're getting more value or a better product or service, correct? So I think that's a genuine concern, though, WKD Lama. By the way, I'm not familiar with the Royal Mail, National Mail, or the water companies. I have no understanding of anything in the UK, not even their politics. I know, sad, we're a British territory. I should probably do better. Suzanne Ingham says, if you do away with the post office, doesn't that mean folks without jobs, how will they live, make ends meet? Well, Suzanne, this is the harsh reality that we all must face, right? Someone said to me many years ago when we were fighting conscription, they said, it's not the government's job to raise your children. The truth is, this may sound very harsh, and I'm saying this as a person who has been an employee for a very long time. It's not the government's job to ensure that you have a job. I know this is going to be a harsh reality for many people today, but it's not the responsibility to ensure that you have a job. If the service is no longer needed, then they can't just say, oh, well, we're going to give you a job because you need one. It's up to each and every able-bodied person to develop a skill set that they can sell to make a living. Harsh, but true. So if they do away with the post office, doesn't that mean folks without jobs? It also means that the government can reduce spend, and that those folks who have those jobs will hopefully have the skills and knowledge to go and find another job or create their own opportunities. Kenton Trott says, some things are privatized already, but they act like it's a naughty word. There should be a balance. Openness and transparency is key. Some smaller services should be. Recycling is already privatized. Indeed. Richard Scott says, I think one of the concerns would be that there is a fair and equitable process to the selection of the private company. Now we're talking, sir. Now we're talking. I think that's a big concern. I think we already have a lot of people who believe that there's unfair processes that take place. Over a certain amount of money, things are supposed to be put out to tender, and we've seen that hasn't happened on both sides, right? In the last 10 years in government, we've seen it happen. It's not supposed to be that way. It's the Daily Hour, brought to you by our friends at the BAC Group of Companies, Medical Wells, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. Folks, do not forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels. Stay up to date with all that we have going on. If you haven't already and you're tuned in on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter X, or Instagram, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Again, the question of the morning, this is the daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure Trucking. The question of the morning, it is Monday, the 14th of April. How do you believe the government of Bermuda can reduce spending without cutting jobs? How do you believe the government of Bermuda can reduce spending without cutting jobs? Again, do you agree with privatization? Now, getting back to the privatization doesn't necessarily mean jobs will be cut. Let me make that clear. It may mean that people have to reapply for jobs. It may mean that people, move over to different departments, but it does not necessarily mean cutting jobs. I want to make that clear. So I'll give you an example. Bermuda Tourism, the Department of Tourism, when they, introduced the Bermuda Tourism Authority, there were people who moved over to other government departments. There were people who had to reapply. Well, everyone had to reapply for their jobs if they wanted to be a part of the BTA. And then there were people who said, oh, forget this, I'm out. And then one or two people who might have left the organization, right? But that's what privatization looks like. Now, is it fair that someone who maybe has done a job in government for a long time has to reapply for their job? I don't think it is, but this is life. And you know what they say? Life isn't fair. So other ways around that, there are ways around it if we really want to truly protect people. But I think the objective, without eliminating the human element, is not to cut jobs. Like finding ways to reduce government spend without cutting jobs. That's the key here. How can we do that? Like what ideas could, if our MP came on our doorstep today, what could we say to our MPs to say, look, hey, the government's spending too much money. Here are some ideas I have that can help. What are you thinking? What are some things that you would say, you know what, that's a great idea? But also, audience, yes or no? Just a yes or no. Only Richard Scott's answer, yes or no. Do you agree with privatization? Yes or no? Or is it specific? Is it specific of what you would agree with when it comes to privatization? Or do you agree with privatization? Yes or no? Let us know. Do you agree with privatization? Again, I'm with Richard Scott. It depends on what it is. Privatization has, some people believe it has not worked in any jurisdiction. I don't really. I mean, I haven't done research that much to find out where it's worked. And again, that's subjective in terms of whether something's worked or not. The airport would be a Bermuda example. Do you think it's worked? Well, how much is it costing? Is it CCC, the Canadian company? How much is it costing them versus how much it would have cost the Bermuda government? And how much money are they making versus how much they're putting in? I mean, it really depends, man. At the end of the day, we know that one thing is true. We need our government needs to reduce spending. And the easy thing for the majority of Bermudians, especially those who don't work in the public service, is, well, if we want to reduce spending, just cut jobs. I don't think that's the only way. It's the easy way to think about, but I'm not sure that's the only way. So we have to figure out what the best way is. Again, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with privatization? And how do you believe the government of Bermuda can reduce spending without cutting jobs? Kenton Trott says, I agree. It depends. Said it depends. Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors we have to consider. There's definitely a lot of factors that we have to consider when doing it. He also says there should be a consultation process to determine what can and maybe should be privatized. Okay, that's fair. What can and should be privatized. So if I ask you, audience, what would you start with? What would you say needs to be privatized? Garbage collection? Mail? What else? Transportation. And is it all transportation or just land like buses? Or is it ferry and buses? Or is it just ferry? What would you say? Richard Scott says privatization of education through independent schools, district boards. Bermuda is small, so perhaps 3 districts, East, West, and Central. Oh, I'm glad you said education. I was wondering if anyone would take that risk. I like the idea of the way Berkeley and Whitney and St. George's Prep operate. The whole boards, the ability to maintain control, some sort of control. I love it. I actually really do like that. I'm interested to see how the public would respond to that. I am. I would be interested to see how the greater public respond to that kind of system, Richard. Because I think on a whole, we tend to stick with the norms. And when I say the norms, things that make us comfortable. I think this makes us a bit uncomfortable having to look at something like this. But that's an interesting one. Thank you for that. You've given me food for thought. Keep it coming, audience. Keep letting us know, how do you believe the government of Bermuda can reduce spending without cutting jobs? This was your daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure Trucking. We're going to have Maya Palacio on for the Daily Hour News Break in a few, and then we will bring our guest for the day, Debi Ray-Rivers, on from SCARS. It's still Child Abuse Prevention Month. Kenton Trott said, road services, trash. Clearly, I have my reasons. Things like painting of schools already is. We've got Richard Scott says, we stick to what we know. Research solves that issue. Indeed. And Suzanne Ingham says they can cut costs by not giving themselves all these raises. That will definitely help cut costs. That is my final answer. She talking to you? Well, they voted on the raise already. It has to go through the Senate, I think, right? I can't keep up. But all right, let's give some thanks to Secure and Titan.
The daily discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Visit TitanEXBDA.com, your leading tour and transport provider specializing in Black History tours throughout the island. And SecureBDA.com for all your property management, waste management, residential, and commercial trucking needs. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is our commitment to you.
All righty, let's bring Maya Palacio in for the Daily Hour News Break. And don't forget, we got Debi Ray-Rivers coming up after that.
Oh, good morning. Good morning.
Greetings, MP. How are you? You made it back to Toronto?
Made it back in one piece. Yep.
I gotta ask these questions. I'm just saying, I gotta ask these questions. You know why I gotta ask? Because you have the most interesting travel stories to Las Vegas 2 years in a row.
I try not to have these stories. I really do.
One day, that's a part of the documentary story, though. That it's annoying when it happens, but one day we'll look back, be like, yeah, I remember that time, and I can admit I laughed a bit at that, but I didn't laugh, MP. I didn't laugh. I promise you, I didn't. I didn't laugh at you. Not last year or this year. I was like, mouth like on the floor, like, that happened? Yeah, that's how I was.
Yeah.
Anyway, you had a birthday on Friday.
I did. I turned 28, and a lot of people in my life cannot believe it. Are asking to see my birth certificate.
Yeah, but I mean, what'd you do? Like, did you have like a party you didn't invite us to?
No. For my birthday, I actually went to I'm a big Avatar: The Last Airbender fan, so they had this symphony concert out here in Toronto. So where they played like very special, significant moments of the series, plus a full-on orchestra kind of like playing it. So I went to go see that. And when I tell you, it was probably one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had. So that was what I did for my birthday.
Nice. That sounds very cool. I mean, very mature, I should say.
It's funny you said that because I felt like it was like, my friend who took me, my friend Paget, she got the tickets for me, and it was I guess you could say a childish thing because it's part of my childhood, like Avatar: The Last Airbender. So she assumed that it was literally going to be children there, and I was like, please stop. Like, there's people my age and older because it was just like something that we've all done in our childhood. It's a very like significant series. So she was even shocked by the age group. I'm like, yes, it's adults watching this, not children.
Yeah, I mean, you could have been in a club, doing the 28-year-old thing. That's where I was when I was your age. So
Mm.
no, I thought that's very cool. I'm glad you did something you love like that. That's what's up. And big up to Paget, your friend, for making sure that you enjoyed the way how you wanted to enjoy it. You know what? Since we're on birthdays, if we get in the news, it's my Nana's birthday. I think she turns 90 today. Nana's birthday. Yeah, Nana turns.
Congratulations!
Happy birthday to Nana Hartman. Big up to Nana. Another year around the sun. So she has a wonderful day and eats anything she wants and enjoys the Pembroke breeze. Maya, did you ever like play in the Kappa tournament when you were young?
No, I never did that.
Oh,
Was Kappa around?
yeah. My boys I coached were about the same age as you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, don't have to worry about talking about Maya's red card. She didn't participate. No, I know Sancha was out there all weekend. So props to parents like Sancha out there, for the children and supporting them. I know they had a bad like storm one Saturday, I believe. So it was all like, I guess, pushed back to Sunday and then things changed. But I just want to send love to the Kappas. This is something that they've really invested and put into the community, and the parents the well-behaved parents, I should say, and the children and coaches who participate in the clubs. But yeah, I thought you might have participated on that. I see if I'd have known you, I'd have brought you on my team,
I was deep into field hockey. You couldn't take me away from it.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'd have attended the field hockey Kappa championship. We could have created it. All right. So what you got today?
Okay. Good morning, everyone. This is your daily hour news break brought to you by the good people at People's Pharmacy, and a reminder that People's on Victoria Street is open 1 hour longer a day. All right. So starting out your news this morning, the plague of the potholes continue. The Ministry of Public Works issued a safety advisory for commuters who are traveling about the island in the coming days, which is basically the entire island for the most part. So they noted that following the heavy rain over the weekend, several large and potentially dangerous potholes have appeared on a number of roads. As an example, in the Albo Beach Hotel area, there is a particularly concerning pothole, and motorists are encouraged to exercise safety when driving in that area. Commuters should reduce their speed to avoid any hazards. Speaking of hazards, if you listened into the House of Assembly on March 21st, one of the earlier sessions when Parliament reconvened, the Honourable Shadow Minister Craig Kennaneer boisterously expressed his frustration with the timing of the paving and the dangers it's causing the citizens of Bermuda.
On the doorstep, as we were out during this election, and the premier can chirp all he wants, one of the major issues, and if he wants to continue to interpolate, let me just say this here. People are dying on our streets. And people are pointing to the government because of this. So if we want to interpolate, let's talk about the people, what the people are saying. We need the roads fixed, and we can't wait 10 years plus to get them fixed. So whatever we need to do, let's move into the process of speeding it up.
In the House, Minister and Deputy Leader Zane De Silva rebutted that statement, sharing that the government already laid out its plan to better Bermuda's roads, and they are using resources in the East and West End to do so.
The honourable member's certainly misleading the House, and this time I have to think it's intentional, because Colonel Birch, in his last session in this House, gave a very full, detailed explanation as to what was going on and what was planned.
Still, in the latest instance, all drivers and pedestrians are urged to exercise extreme caution while traveling along the affected areas, as the ministry's road workers and maintenance teams will be addressing any problem areas urgently on April the 14th.
When I'm on the highway and it's getting to summertime, but in Florida, it was when I was living there, it was mostly summer throughout the year. And I would see these guys riding these motorcycles and weaving in and I'm just like, all it'll take is something in the road, tiniest thing, and they're done. That's it. In Bermuda, the vehicles are much slower, but all you need is a little speed and hit one of those things at the wrong angle, and you're done. all that to say, the politicians are going to play politics, but all of us need to be responsible for our actions, knowing the state of the roads. And that means just go a bit slower, drive with caution. I think driving with caution is going to do more to save us than waiting on the bickering cousins in the house to fix anything.
And this is the point, right? But it's still that issue, the larger issue of these roads. It's how long has this been going on now that we've been like struggling to, fast track what needs to be done? Well, in other news, 2 workers were injured in an electrical accident at Southampton Princess worksite. Police are investigating a serious industrial accident that took place Sunday morning on the grounds of the Fairmont Southampton Hotel, a site that's currently undergoing major redevelopment.
Around 10:45 a.m., officers responded to reports of an incident involving an electrical transformer. 2 male workers were injured and taken to King Edward Memorial Hospital. Their injuries are said to be serious. The hotel, which has been under construction since last year, is one of the island's largest tourism properties. While it remains closed to the public, significant construction and electrical work has been ongoing as part of efforts to restore and reopen the site. In a statement, Belco Managing Director Shelley Lehman confirmed that crews were dispatched following a power outage report at the hotel. Upon arrival, they were informed that the incident involved contractors working on the internal electrical network. Belco isolated the hotel's network from the substation and is now supporting police and hotel teams with the investigation.
Yikes. Woo. Well, hopefully they heal well, and man.
Yeah, an electrical issue incident is no less matter. Like it's very serious.
Yeah.
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 Meanwhile, if you needed a reminder to do the right thing by the animals on this earth, $25,000 or 2 years imprisonment on summary conviction. Now that is basically what you could be liable for under the Protection Species Act of 2003. Just remind you that it is an offense to injure, disturb, or harass a humpback or sperm whale in Bermuda. And the Minister, Jashay Adams, recently mentioned some of the do's and don'ts for all the whale watchers this season. And I'm sure that figure and amount will make sure everyone stays on their best behavior and stays safe and well when whale watching out there.
What people doing with the whales?
Not staying a safe distance, maybe even trying to go in and swim with them. He listed out a host of things that we should and should not do as a reminder of these acts and these protocols.
Who wants to go in the water where there's a whale? I mean, you know what? Never mind. It's Jamal. Stay in your box. Go ahead.
Yeah, awesome. That will. All right, so getting into the main meat of our story today. So on the show, we did report on reforming youth justice and rehabilitation versus punishment in Bermuda, and whether youth violence has also increased on the island. We brought those stories to you. Well, today we give a portion into a long-form investigative story we're working on regarding the impact of social media on youth violence. And we begin it with an interview on the Today Show with one of the leading characters of the #1 Netflix series, Adolescence, Stephen Graham. So here's your story.
And it was never a kind of who done it, it was more of a why has he done it? And that's kind of the concept of the program. We wanted to look at what's happening to young boys today in today's society when it's kind of, radicalization from the internet, but also the school system and parenting. So it's really a kind of a question of why has this young boy gone out and done this heinous act?
The Netflix series Adolescence sparked discussion across social media, inside family homes, and even in Parliament, with scenes showcasing youth, bullying, mental health struggles, and the pressures of social media. The show reopened a difficult but necessary conversation. Are young people more violent, more anxious, or just more visible than ever before? Dr. Alexandra Gold is a licensed clinical psychologist and member of the faculty at Harvard Medical School and Massachusetts General Hospital, working closely in bipolar treatment innovation. She says that despite the need for it, the research to prove that social media is a cause for anxiety is just not there, but links are visible.
And researchers are debating about this literally right now. What is the relationship between social media and youth mental health? we know that youth are struggling with their mental health. In terms of whether social media is causing that, we do see association. We see linkage between higher symptoms of depression, higher symptoms of anxiety, and what we might call problematic smartphone use across different studies. So this idea of using smartphones in a way that's kind of almost addictive, spending a lot of time on smartphones, feeling like one can't stay away from their cell phone, and then having more rates of depression and anxiety. In some studies, was 3 times as much depression, twice as much anxiety compared to those youth who were not using their smartphones in problematic ways. But to say that social media is causing that, I don't think the research is there yet.
In his book, The Anxious Generation, social psychologist Jonathan Haidt identifies the rise of smartphones and a spike in anxiety, depression, and even suicide among teens. He cites troubling data that suggests a global mental health crisis is unfolding in plain sight, beginning his book with an analogy of, would you send your child to Mars with no data or research? Well, that is essentially what we're doing, handing over smartphones to children with no data or research of what these devices are doing to them or to us. In a passage from his book, it reads, my focus is on why rates of mental illness went up in so many countries between 2010 and 2015 for Gen Z, while older generations were much less affected. Why was there a synchronized international increase in rates of adolescent anxiety and depression? And for those who may think that their child won't go out looking for violent content or even content that would make them feel uneasy, Dr. Gold says sometimes it's not even their choice. She brings to light the uncertainty of the algorithms and how they haven't been assessed in research.
Right. A lot of the studies are like looking more at amount of social media use, how long people are using. It's not really getting at the quality of the use. Is it that social media is worsening mental health symptoms that are already there? Or is it that social media is introducing people to new content they might not have seen otherwise that's causing mental health symptoms?
So how do we combat all this uncertainty? The actor, Stephen Graham, said in an interview that hopefully his role encourages parents to talk to their children and ask what they are seeing on their phones, what holds their interests, and be involved. Echoing similar sentiments, Dr. Gold suggests the same: open dialogue, checking in, being curious about how social media is affecting them, and also limiting screen time and building activities outside of the phone that are enjoyable. However, even with that, we are still faced with not knowing what social media can do, and because of that, parents do not have all the tools to combat it.
With social media, there's still so much that's unknown in terms of what it is, what causes what, that to, expect parents to know that themselves of, oh, like maybe we should have done this thing or done that thing. It's so hard to do that at this point.
Well, I think Florida had a law recently passed about teens and social media, and we discussed it on this show last year before last, when that came up. I do believe, as much as I believe in freedom of choice and education and the like, I think for the protection, I think even adults need protection from social media. And I'll share this publicly. I asked Maya last week about like why people hide their likes on Instagram, right? And it's like they hide some of them and they don't hide the others. And I say this respectfully, and hopefully it doesn't. Well, again, it may offend people, but the goal is not to offend. But some of the most popular people in Bermuda will hide likes for some of their posts when they seem not to get a certain amount, and then show them for the other. That, to me, I'm no expert. That seems like a mental thing, like some sort of insecurity. And these are grown adults. These are some business owners and the like. And it's like, you could only imagine the damage that has with children. I remember one of our former co-hosts on this show had young children, and saying that her daughter would tell her, oh, if the picture they put on, her friends put on Instagram doesn't get enough likes, they delete it. Like it's, I know the psychologist is saying there's no research hasn't said that social media adds to it or whatnot, she said. But I'm pretty sure in no time it will.
Yeah, she mentioned how there's like
Go ahead.
Sorry, she mentioned how there's a concrete evidence, but there's experience that has been charted. But we can't quite say because of this that this happened, but we know that there's a link in there somewhere. It's like saying that not just one thing kind of puts on, let's say, mental health issues. There's simultaneously a lot of little things that, add up to what can happen to somebody. So in that case, social media is one aspect of it, but it's not going to be the core thing. However, once we get more research on this, we might find differently about just how big of an impact it is. Like she said, we already have this addictive personality to our phones already. So that's something that we can blatantly see and we could chart. I asked about like handing over phones to children at an early age. Like, is that smart? Is that like everyone seems to be doing it? And she goes, we've made it such a social and society norm that it seems to be okay right now, but we don't really know the after effects in the long term. I even saw a video while I was doing more research about a teacher explaining how now students are basically can't write an essay for almost 2 hours. Like you have to do sit and write essay because their hands hurt and they're cramping up and because they don't do the regular outdoorsy stuff that they used to do anymore because they're just on their phones working one finger muscle basically. And then now it's hurting them to write an essay. So it's all these little things that are going to eventually add up that you probably didn't even think about before. That are going to probably come to light in the next 5 to 10 years.
And in fairness, I mean, we didn't need social media to find out who the sickos were. I mean, fighting lizards outside and stuff like that was kind of sick behavior as well. So I want people to understand we had issues with children before it, but let's not act like there has not been a new way of destabilizing the mindset and function of young people due to the internet, period.
Oh, definitely. I mean, if you get a chance to read the book, I definitely suggest to do so, anyone to do so, because it even talks about, the play that we had growing up, the playgrounds, when we stopped trusting other adults, in the world, when it used to be very familiar to be like, even in Bermuda, our own country, like you have to trust an adult, and how that shifted to only family, to how that shifted to only trust me, and what that does to like the mindset of a young person growing up, and how they formulate around their own community.
Indeed.
All right. So let me close up here with our weather this morning, guys. So it's still not looking great. So again, we got to be careful on those roads. As it says, it's going to be a mix of sun and some clouds with a chance of 1 or 2 blustery showers and some strong gale force winds as well, with a high of 69. So again, take your time, take your time, take your time. Be late. It's okay.
All righty. Maya, thank you so much. Real quickly, days of the year, it is International Moment of Laughter Day. International Moment of Laughter Day. When was the last time you've had a moment of laughter? Not laugh, but just a full moment of laughter.
It's got to be sometime soon. I'm always laughing with my friends, so it has probably my birthday. I'll probably say my birthday. Yes, but definitely my birthday. So I just remembered I got a beautiful message from my one of my closest friends ever, and my godson River. It was the funniest video I've probably ever seen in my entire life. I would share, but it's just too much.
Okay. Audience, let us know, when was the last time you had a moment of laughter? Probably at that show that we went to in Vegas, Mad Apple. The comedian was hilarious. She was raw. She was like Eddie Murphy raw. She said some things that would have offended some of you all, but I couldn't stop laughing. And it was one of those things where, let me check my watch to make sure my heart's still beating kind of laughter. So yeah, it was funny. Alrighty, MP, we'll see you soon. We've got a guest waiting for us. We are a bit behind. Talk soon. Enjoy the rest of your birthday weekend. All right, folks, my applause here. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in a few. You don't want to miss this conversation we've got with Debi Ray-Rivers coming up. Trust me. A lot of information, helpful information for everyone. In the meantime, whatever platform you're on, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, or Instagram, give us a like, love, follow. Make sure everyone has access to this community conversation.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
Hi there, welcome to Medical House. We're located at number 6 Bakery Lane. I can't wait to show you all of the great stuff that we carry. Come on inside, let's see. Long days, long shifts, you no longer have to endure comfortable underwear. Designed by Narcissus, we now offer premium undergarments by Swoop that are unique, fun, comfortable, and functional. The only underwear you'll ever want to wear. Who says high-quality functional products can be stylish and comfortable at the same time?
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Attention home renovators and design lovers, your dream space starts here. The brand new Kohler retail showroom at BAC Group is now open, bringing you up to 35% savings on all Kohler products at U.S. manufacturer suggested retail prices. That means no extra fees, no freight, no wharfage, no duty, no document processing fees, just pure cutting-edge Kohler design at unbeatable value. From sleek kitchen and bathroom faucets, vanities, toilets, to statement sinks, walking tubs, and spa-worthy bathtubs, BAC brings innovation and luxury within reach. Visit the BAC showroom on Mill Creek Road today for style, quality, no surprises. Just color from BAC.
Discover Drop It, your go-to grocery delivery. Browse and select from a wide range of groceries, from fresh produce to daily essentials. Our friendly drivers deliver fresh groceries to your door fast, saving you time and hassle. With Drop It, you get fresh groceries delivered fast so you can focus on what really matters. Drop It, freshness at your doorstep, delivered to your door with Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Dreaming of expanding your business? With BDC's loan guarantee program, we support your ambitions. Get up to 75% guarantee on bank or credit union loans up to $300,000. Just your vision and our support. Apply today and unlock new business opportunities. BDC, Bermuda business starts here.
Join us as we celebrate 5 years and 1,000 plus episodes of community conversations on Bermuda's daily talk show. The Daily Hour Gala takes place on April 26th at LF Wade International Airport. For more information and advance tickets, please send an email to admin@bermudacommunications.com. We look forward to celebrating all that's great about our community with all of you.
Alrighty, welcome back to the big show. Jamal Hartman here. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Without further ado, let's bring our very special guest. We've got our good friend Debi Ray-Rivers coming on from SCARS. We're going to be talking about Child Abuse Prevention Month. Folks, if you haven't already, make sure you give us a like, love, follow, make sure you give us a thumbs up, and get your questions and comments ready. Let's give a warm TDH welcome. Hello, hello, hello. How are you?
Hey, Jamal. I'm great. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Another Monday. We love a good Monday. Let's jump right into it, though. Look, we first off, we're grateful to have you guys as a partner to continue to engage, educate our audience, and also grateful to the QBE Foundation for ensuring that we can have these conversations with you on a regular basis. We recently had the Coalition for the Protection of Children on to discuss this very same topic. However, the roles of each organization are very different, with SCARS actually focusing on sexual abuse in particular. But can you just explain what role does SCARS play in child abuse prevention, period, as it relates to sexual abuse?
Thank you. Thank you so much. If I can give a shout out to Kelly, it's her birthday today. I hope she doesn't mind me saying that, but happy birthday to a great advocate in this community. Another one of our great advocates advocating for the protection of children. But yeah, SCARS, our role in this community is to educate and make aware sexual abuse prevention to our adults. We believe that it's an adult's responsibility to protect children, so we provide necessary prevention education and awareness to the adult community in Bermuda. And we do that by teaching adults skills and how to protect their child, because prevention begins at home. And it's really incumbent of our parents and guardians to make sure that we provide, or they provide, critical information to make sure their child is safe. So that conversation is very important, and it needs to start early, in an age-appropriate way. And parents and guardians should talk often to their children about the importance of protection.
Indeed. And since happy birthday, Kelly. Yes, we same as my nana. Look at that. So how does SCARS work with organizations like the Coalition for the Protection of Children to ensure children are protected in not just sexual abuse, but what they do in a whole? Like how do the organizations work in tandem?
Well, Kelly and the Coalition, they teach children how to speak up to be safe. And it's a really critical role, along with many other things that they do in terms of protection of children, in terms of meals and making sure they're fed. SCARS teaches adults. We train adults on how to recognize, prevent, and react responsibly to this issue of child sexual abuse. But there are other wonderful agencies, one of which is the Family Center. And they deal with this psychological counseling and programs to really, help and heal and empower the children of Bermuda. So we each have a role, right? Everybody has a role in protecting children, not only charities, but the Bermuda Police Service do an amazing job in, investigating, making sure our children are protected, the Child and Family Services. So there are a lot of agencies out there, helping, and there's so many more. But our specific role is to make sure that we provide prevention curriculums to adults. So not only parents and guardians, but also youth serving organizations in our community who open their doors to children. Very, very important. They have a very important role in making sure that the children that they serve are protected at their institutions.
Indeed. And I love that. I mean, when I see sports clubs sharing on social media that their coaches and members of SCARS certified, it tells you that, they absolutely value what it is that the organization is doing. So for this April in particular, what is SCARS doing this month in particular to educate and engage the community during Child Abuse Prevention Month?
Yeah, so I don't know if you've noticed, but if you're a follower of SCARS, but we are providing a resource a day to keep the predator away. So we are providing great recommended reading and resources for our parents and our guardians, those that are responsible for children, to really have these conversations with their children, to read books with their children on little simple things. My body belongs to me. No is no, right? We want to empower our children with information so that they can speak up if anybody's making them feel uncomfortable. They know their body is private and special. Nobody should view, take pictures of, or touch their private parts or expose their private parts to children, and they shouldn't do it to others. And that message starts early because what we want to do is build trust with our children so that if they're ever feeling uncomfortable or somebody does something to make them feel uncomfortable, they feel empowered and they're skilled. They have the tools to be able to speak up to their safe adult. Hopefully their parent or guardian, but not every parent or guardian is a safe adult, but hopefully their parent or guardian to say, this is what happened to me and I felt uncomfortable and I told them no, so that everyone can be alerted. It might be somebody out there that is unsafe and that is a risk being around kids. And so we want to empower our children with their voice to be able to say, even if uncle, auntie, babysitter, teacher, clergy, friend of the family makes you feel uncomfortable, you can let us know no matter who it is, even if it's my best friend.
Yeah.
Feel comfortable enough to come and tell me. And it's not easy, but I'm here to protect you. That's my job as your parent or your guardian or your coach or your teacher, your aunt, your uncle, your grandparent. I'm here to protect you. That's my job. That's every adult's job, is to make sure kids are protected and they have a voice, Jamel.
Yeah, it's interesting as I listen to you chat. It's like, I think, something you've seen over the last few years is, children not being believed, right? And because, and you've seen people on social media, not sure how true it is, but it could be emotional, saying that we have a community where we protect, predators because it's our family, it's our best friend, as you mentioned, friend or uncle or auntie, and so on. What is? I mean, how do we get around that? How do we get, and I'm speaking about the adults now, how do we get adults, right, to actually understand that, you know what, your friend, your auntie, your brother, your sister potentially could be like, what can they look for in that person? Right? We always say, like, what can we look for in the children? But what can we look for in those people who maybe the children are accusing, to say, you know what, let's take a closer look?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we have to put children first. That's number one. We put children first, ahead of our relationships. And that's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, because I had to do it. But we have to stand up for children. We look for signs like adults that cross the boundary of a child, adults that look for the behavior of the child. That's what I would say. If a child is around an adult and feeling uncomfortable or a little bit fearful or have anxiety around or doesn't want to be around, just pay attention to some of those signs. May not be abuse, but you can't rule it out. Why would you want to put your child without, let me go back. My children didn't want to go over their grandparents' house, and they would make up all these excuses. But I never once thought it was because the husband of my mother was sexually abusing them. I just thought they didn't want to go over there. We've got, but I wasn't educated in prevention. I didn't have the tools to start asking the right questions. All I said was, it's not, maybe they'll put their air conditioner on today because maybe they said they were hot today. Because children are scared to come right out and tell you what's going on. Many won't. But if you know how to ask the right questions, open-ended questions, is there anything else that's making you feel fearful? Is there anything you want to share? That's really important, because we want to provide children with an opportunity to be able to speak honestly to us. It might hurt somebody else. Children protect adults, trust me. They don't. You think they want to send somebody to jail? Right. Child is scared of that. They're only a child. They're not many adults. And so we want to provide our children with the tools to say, open up that door and say, tell me why you don't want to go over there. Tell me why you don't enjoy gymnastics anymore. Tell me why you did enjoy football and now you don't want to go anymore. I mean, it could be a bullying situation with another child. It may not be an adult doing that, but it is incumbent of us as adults to start having those conversations with our children and building that trust so they can feel free to tell us. We're not going to go off our head and kill somebody. We're not going to go down to that field and make off, because that's a child doesn't want that. A child needs a level-headed adult in their life to say, okay, let's figure out how we're going to deal with this.
Indeed. Also, audience, this segment with Scars is probably brought to you by the QBE Foundation. We got a question from the audience. Suzanne Ingham says, "Oh, happy birthday, Kelly!" And she also goes on to say, "Do you talk to kids about what to look for so they can recognize perpetrators?"
Scars does not. The coalition may, but Scars does not, because Scars targets adults. We always have, and we always will, because we believe that it's an adult's responsibility. And we talk to adults about what they need to look out for, right, when it comes to this. And signs, recognizing signs in a child is how we can determine what's going on. That's where we come from.
And speaking of which, let's delve a bit deeper into that. And audience, again, if you have any questions or comments for Debi, send them through. But let's talk about signs. Like, remind us, because I think this is where we get a bit confused. Like, what should someone do if they suspect a child is being sexually abused?
Yeah.
What should they do? Like, what are their steps?
Yeah. So first of all, the signs, not every sign means sexual abuse. Okay. But signs say, pay attention, start asking some open-ended questions. So you can have the potential signs of sexual abuse. It can be physical signs. It can be emotional signs. It can be behavioral signs. Okay. But the potential signs, physical signs, could be bruising or bleeding or redness, bumps around or scabs around the mouth, genital, or the anus. It could be constant urinary tract infections. It can be sexually transmitted diseases. It could be anxiety, right? That's a potential physical sign. Child's always having anxiety around, at certain times, or being around certain people or certain, activities. Look for anxiety. Chronic stomach pain, where there's no physical understanding of why they keep having these stomach pains. Frequent headaches. Those are some of the physical signs. And then the potential Emotional signs could be withdrawal, fear. All of a sudden, they're feeling fearful around certain situations and people. Depression, unexplained, anger. Listen, if a child's being abused, they're going to be angry. Angry why people aren't seeing this. Angry why maybe they're seeing it and they're not doing anything, right? So look for anger. Look for nightmares. Start asking some questions. If your child is constantly having these nightmares, start asking some open-ended questions. Do SCARS training. That's what I'm going to tell everybody. But overall, an emotional change in a child. You're looking, could be some either change of an emotion, change of behavior. Some behavioral signs are sexual behavior at a young age, language that becomes inappropriate. You don't know where this is coming from, and could be coming from the internet as well. Use of alcohol or drugs at an early age. Somebody could be giving them that so that they, lessen their, understanding of what's happening to them, and that they need them. So they're going to give them alcohol or drugs. Rebellious behaviors, sometimes cruelty to animals. It could be bullying others, right? Because they don't know how to deal with what's happening to them. So they start making others feel uncomfortable, right? Bullying is a huge sign. Happy children don't bully. We just put out a post that last week. Happy children do not bully. Yeah. Bullying behaviors are for a reason. They're either watching it, they're copying it, something's being done to them. So watch out for that. Even a sign of failing grades. How do you focus in school if you're being abused? Very difficult. Your grades might start dropping suddenly, and you don't understand where this is coming from. Being bullied, like I said, running away behavior could be a sign. Self-harm years ago, and I've spoken to survivors who cut themselves. Fire setting, right? Cruelty to animals could be another sign that something's happened in that little one's life. Start paying attention to that. And so those are self-harm, as I said, even too perfect behavior, Jamal. Some kids don't want anyone to find out.
Right.
So they're going to make everything perfect in their life. I had a child who that was one of her signs, just perfect behavior, too perfect behavior. So there can be many signs. The most important thing is ask open-ended questions, start early, talk often. And then I don't know if you want me to talk about reacting responsibly, but anyway, those are some of the signs.
Yeah, speak about that, reacting responsibly, please.
Yeah, so if a child is suddenly being anxious or, showing signs of drug and alcohol, to react responsibly is to find out the root of the behavior. Start asking some open-ended questions. I notice that usually you're really anxious when it's time for, music or volleyball or whatever, some sport, or every time, school. I just want you to know that I'm here if you want to chat about anything. Nothing's off limits with us. I love you and I'm here to protect you. Or can you think of someone else that you might want to share? Because I did notice this. But I love you and I'm always here for you to chat. If a child tells you they're being abused, I believe you. Thank you for telling me. That was very brave. Because let me tell you, it was brave if a child reveals. Trust me, because perpetrators like to tell children, keep your secret. This is our secret. If you tell, you're going to get in trouble. If you tell, I'm going to hurt your brother or your sister. If you tell, you're going to be kicked off the team. There's a lot of reasons. We're doing another post about that. But thank them for telling you. Tell them it was very brave. Let them know it wasn't their fault. I'm here to get the help that you need. Please know that it has to be reported. If you know of a child being abused, it's not up to you to investigate it. It's not up to you to verify it. It's not up to you to validate it. Make the report. You let the professionals like the Bermuda Police Service and Child and Family Service determine if a crime has occurred, but it must be reported. Don't ask leading questions. It could shut down a child. Tell me more. What happened next? And then, if you're working with children, really, I would always say, write it down, journal what you heard so that you can give the proper information to the authorities. But always believe children and let them know I'm here for you. And we're going to determine what's happened. Listen, I had a man in a training class who was wrongly accused of sexually abusing a child. And I don't know if I said this story in the last show, and please stop me if I have.
No, I don't.
He was wrongly accused. And he said, he told the authorities, I know this child's being abused, but it's not me. But do your investigation. Ask me any question you want, but something's going on with this child. And he told us that when they did the investigation, they determined that the child was being abused, not by this man, but the child knew that this man was not going to be mad at her for saying it was him. She just wanted someone to find out, but she didn't want to say the real person that was doing it because she was scared of him. But the person that she told, she knew she wasn't scared of him. And so, you know, we got to believe children. We let the authorities do their investigation. You know, sexual abuse is really hard because there's no evidence. Sex offenders don't do this. They don't do this with other people. But I will say this. For years, we say sexual abuse happens in isolation. But I had a survivor recently in the last couple of days tell me on the weekend, that the door was open while he was abusing her in another room and his wife was in the other room. The door was open. He didn't close the door. And he wasn't saying to his wife, come in here, let me show you what I'm doing to her. But he kept the door open. So it's almost like it can be like a game with perpetrators. Like, you know, it can be like chasing, you know, it's like the adrenaline that they know they're doing something wrong. And right. So it doesn't have to be in isolation.
Wow.
Always. Jamal, listen, sexual abuse is so prevalent. I've heard 3 stories in the last couple of days. One was this story where they said the door was open. It was adult survivors. Adult survivor said the door was open. I know you talk about isolated, but he left the door open while he was doing what he was doing to me, to the room. Look out for the behaviors of children, please. When you walk in a room, see if a child's sitting on an adult's lap and they're feeling uncomfortable or they're not as joyful as, you know, children are joyful, you know, just pay attention to that. And then, you know, an adult survivor said to me in the last couple of days that her friend's father would throw them up in the air and look at their underwear, you know, throw them up in the air. And she said, I had this uncomfortable feeling, but she said, I never knew about that and didn't even think about that. And then we found out that he abused another girl. And then it all reminded me of what he used to do when he'd throw us up and look up on our underwear. You know, they're very sly perpetrators, very sly.
That is insane. How can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more or maybe utilize your services to educate their organization?
Yeah, we want them to get educated. We've trained 14,000 people, adults in Bermuda, in child sexual abuse prevention. We have about 53,000. We have a long way to go. Sign up for a training, scarsbermuda.com. That's our website. We have a lot of great resources as well as how to get trained. Go to the tab that says Get Trained. Sign up for a 3-hour session. Thanks to our corporate donors like QBE Foundation and many others in our community. We don't charge for our training, so it's free education. But we also have a show called Survivor Hour, which we're filming next week. And we have an author who we're bringing on set, as well as Kelly Hunt. That's one of the things we're doing for Child Abuse Prevention Month. And we're having Kelly and this author named Adrienne Simone. She's going to be on our show, and it will be filmed next week. So we're excited about that. We have Kayak for Kids, a fundraiser coming up in June, and we're getting that website up and live. So yeah, you know, go on our website, scarsbermuda.com. There's a lot
Follow on Instagram as well, folks. Follow on Instagram as well. Thank you so much, Deb. This is always great having these somewhat uncomfortable conversations that need to be had. Debbie, honestly, thank you, and thank you to the QBE Foundation for ensuring we can do this. We'll talk to you soon. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Jamal. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Debi Ray-Rivers. Scars, a lot of work to do in our community, folks. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 2 minutes, 41 seconds. You don't want to miss this daily play. You're not Bermudian. You are not Bermudian if you don't know this answer. It's Bermuda Trivia coming up.
April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. Children depend on every single caring adult in our community to make sure they are safe from sexual harm. Keeping them safe not just in April, but every day. Whether you're a parent, a guardian, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, or a caregiver, we ask that you take just 3 hours out of your busy schedule to learn what you can do to make sure the precious children in your life are protected. They are worth it. Join the SCARS certified adults by simply visiting our website to sign up for a free SCARS training session. Learn about online and body safety, how to protect them, and how to respond if they are harmed. This information is vital to their well-being and their future. Because they are children, it is our responsibility, Bermuda, to protect them. Visit scarsbermuda.com and learn what you can do to help the child in your life stay safe.
Considering the increasing challenges faced by financial institutions, the need for insurance protection is a critical component of the risk management framework. At FriesenBrook, our priority is to safeguard your assets with the most optimal, cost-effective risk management cover to help protect your business, whether it be cyber, directors and officer liability, professional indemnity, or property insurance. Call us on 296-3600 to learn more about our full suite of competitive corporate insurance products. At FriesenBrook, we provide insurance you can count on.
BAC's new color showroom is now open. Throughout April, for every $50 spent, your name will be entered to win great raffle prizes. Come learn from BAC, where luxury meets affordability.
Looking for the best care for your pets? Novazok Feed and Supply has everything you need, from top quality foods to toys and supplies. We've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
Join us as we celebrate 5 years and 1,000 plus episodes of community conversations on Bermuda's daily talk show. The Daily Hour Gala takes place on April 26th at LF Wade International Airport. For more information and advance tickets, please send an email to admin@bermudacommunications.com. We look forward to celebrating all that's great about our community with all of you.
All right. Thanks again to Debi Ray-Rivers for stopping by today. And thanks to all of you. Thanks to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medicals, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring we can do this with you on a daily basis. It is time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right, audience, are you ready? Here we go. Here's the question. You are not Bermudian if you don't know the answer. What football club did Sean Gooder initially train with upon arriving in England? Oh my. Well, Sonette Bell says City. No, it was not City. Nope, it was not Man City. It was not Man City. Anyone else? There you go. There you go. Shaban Puzzlewaite says Manchester United. No, Rotherham was the first one he played for. He was initially over there training with Manchester United after being spotted during Thanksgiving break while he was in Bermuda from school he was attending in New Jersey. Yes, Manchester United. Sean Gooder first trained with Manchester United. And then years later, played for Man City and was a real thorn in Man United side. All right, folks, time to jet out. But before we go, just look, as far as reducing government spend, there are many ways to consider. There are going to be various ways to go about it. Obviously, we don't want to see people lose jobs and be out of work. But at the same time, we need to reduce government spending. How and what does that look like? It really is up to us, the community, and what we engage our politicians and legislators on how we believe to move forward best. As it relates to the conversation with Debi Ray-Rivers, always a pleasure having her in. Very uncomfortable conversations, but conversations that need to be had. At the end of the day, I've been saying it since we began this show, the elderly and our children are so vulnerable. They need to be protected by any means necessary. So please use the resources like what SCARS offers to not only educate yourself, but if you have an organization, groups of people, educate them as well. All right, here's your daily inspiration for the day. Here we go. It's from Toni Morrison, who's a writer, educator, and editor. Toni Morrison, the quote is, "If you can't count, they can cheat you. If you can't read, they can beat you." End quote. Yeah, formal education has its place, folks. All righty, it's time for us to say, don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical Wells, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we can do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making this part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. Folks, do not forget, Friday is the cutoff date. If you don't have your tickets for the gala, you need to purchase them by this Friday. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are Izelle. Peace.